Alright. I lay on my back beneath the window last night and listened to the kids flick knives at each other's stomachs, surrounded by burnt-out Chevys, rusted beds of winos, and gutted apartments where the junkies prowled, howling into the night for a fix like urban coyotes. And I heard the subsequent banshee wail of sirens promising death for at least one party out in the lot, lying amongst scraps of metal, floating in his own Alphabet City claret pond. I'm used to it by now. Remember the stabbings never bothered us? Henry stopped by today and shot up on the bed while I sat in a chair across the room smoking a cigarette. And I watched his head roll around on the neck like some orbiting planet and sat down with his chin on his chest, making sounds like a sleeping child. I made a call to Francis and we talked Janae's death watch. I remember you thought Janae was crude, but Francis and I like him. So for an hour or so, at least until Hank woke up and spoke Janae and even some Camus. You liked him. You said he wasn't so crude. When you finally got everything packed is when it really hit me that you were gone, back to your parents' house on the island or your sister's in Colorado. When the cab pulled around the corner, I tacked another rejection letter to the wall. That evening, after it rained, I went onto the roof and started writing. This next one's called Boy Poet. Are you the Rimbaud of the Cigar City, a child of French romanticism fused with the archaic rhythms of the Kingdom of Harlem, when Duke Ellington was a prince and Langston Hughes was thinking of moving to the Soviet Union? Have you made this flesh? The world unfolds before the panoramic window as though you had crafted it yourself, automatic and symbolic strokes that tell of a country you have barely seen, in a world you have longed to see. When will you step out and feel that the wind has nothing to offer? Like the man in the high castle, you sit alone looking out at the land you have built for yourself through verse. A child of anarchistic and atheistic ideals, morally righteous yet materialistically devoid. Walking the broken brick paths and searching for God and love around every corner, and within shattered crevices, only finding a lonely wind that blows cold and a cigarette that barely burns. I can hear your shouts to the night screaming, "When shall the kingdom be more than a rotting picnic table populated by drunks?" But the loneliness makes sense when the drunken stagger away. Boy poet, am I to be a Verlaine to you? Are you waiting for me to produce a revolver and shoot you through the wrist, or just succumb to the bottle in weeping madness? I feel my disposition may be ripe for the latter. Do not search for God and love between the hairs of frigid heads and chests, for those are the chests of dead men whose hearts no longer carry the rhymes of Eros, and know that the wind will always blow cold and lonely. This last one is called Everything Was Green Then. Everything was green then, which was strange because of the freezing College Park that month. I sat in the yellow aluminum chair with the green cushion out back as Lucy knocked tangerines out of the tree and peeled them, letting rivulets of juice stream over her hands. Kerouac lived right over there, she says, pointing over to the rotten gate and toward 3 large oaks. Do you really want to end up like that guy? I don't know what she wants me to say. Yes? I do know the world has become 2 absolute factions right now. Things I do know and things I don't. I know I've been sick for a long time, and I know that my diet has become that of some private dick in a yellow peeling pulp novel. Antacids, alcohol, and cheap cigarettes. I know that my fingers are darker, and the stain on my lips has grown, and I know that everything is still green. I don't know why it was green. The freeze was still there, but the oaks near Jack's house showered myrtle and Dartmouth when the south wind blew tall and full. The gusts carried you down the western highways as I sat in the yard like a blind and weepy drunk. Did you leave because of my character, or did I become this way when you left? I told John about the yard and the trees, rich in moss and greens. You, and it was like heaven. If that's heaven, then pour me a stiff drink, he said. I laughed and we cut our teeth on rye. When you left, the freeze followed you west. I don't know why the leaves and grass turned brown and died when the weather got warmer and better. But what I do know, what I remember, is that everything was green then.